Thank you very much. Hello again. My name is Stephan Gstöhl. I am co-founder of digihub.li. I have more than 12 years experience in IT financial projects, innovation, public and private sector, and I have done the activity project public API for digihub.li. So, first, a short introduction. How did we want to differentiate with digihub.li? We said we want to have the three goals, the three topics of digitization, sustainability, and purpose, meaningful work, and develop a digital ecosystem around these three goals. So this is the main point of our AD. We believe in so-called ecosystem business models. So we say we have to look at Liechtenstein as country, the private public sector, citizens as a whole, as ecosystem, not isolated. And with this basis, allowing co-creation and developing new business models with added values and new kind of products. So this is one approach we want to go ahead. How did we start the whole process as EDI? We have made a qualitative needs analysis, so personal interviews with more than 40 decision makers here in Liechtenstein. So these were CEOs and important persons from the public sector. And this was the foundation for all our activities that followed. This is the first draft picture that we have made, how we want to establish this ecosystem. You see here the different roles. We want to have the public sector, employees, SMEs, investors, all should join this ecosystem. We want to talk about or make solutions for purpose, information, decision-making. We want to measure the contribution and impact towards social, ecological, and economical aspects. So this qualitative needs analysis that we have done together was the foundation for every beneficiary and project partner that we have the data for evaluating our own projects and get the necessary information to work towards a digital ecosystem. The needs analysis was very, very interesting. We have asked very open questions, but for my activity, public API, I have seen that we got a lot of practical challenges from the SMEs and the public sector. They talked about the missing link between SMEs and the public sector. They gave us ideas and solutions for missing services. And so we really saw that we can unlock the digital potential of Liechtenstein if we work towards an ecosystem approach. I have a lot of quotes from the SMEs. I just make 2-3 examples. Why does the state not provide digital signature for free for all the SMEs? We need industry-specific templates for data collection. Why don't we set up a ticket system for all IT service providers that they can serve their clients over one central platform? And a lot of people said that, yes, there is a need for a central platform that better connects the different players here in Liechtenstein. So there are a lot of quotes. So the first idea of this project was to identify what is necessary for a public API. So an API that is provided by the government, by our state, towards the SMEs so that they can set up new kinds of business models. After this needs analysis, we had to say, okay, we don't want to do too much paperwork with no output. And so I extended the scope of this activity and said, at the end of the activity, I want to have a realistic scenario how we could reach an MVP on the existing basis and within the known limits and circumstances to work towards a digital ecosystem. And I really like this quote from one participant of our interviews. The way could lead via the courage to trial and error. He said, why don't you just try it out? And this is our approach now. So the activity public API, what have we done? So we had the needs analysis from the SMEs and the public sector. We have digihub.li as innovation hub with our project activities and partners, needs as EDI in the role of, as an EDI. We have an existing innovation framework in Liechtenstein. And we have also looked at the digital infrastructure and strategies from the public sector and the private sector. All this we put together, and then I have made a first draft. How could we reach an MVP for a digital ecosystem for Liechtenstein? And then I again became a lot of expert advice from SMEs and also the public sector. And then I said, okay, we need to identify the real gaps. What is missing towards building an ecosystem here in Liechtenstein? The gaps, it's very interesting because we saw the main topics we have. It's about, in the public sector, about identity and APIs, so that the public sector provides us the best APIs as possible. In the private sector, the biggest lag was the standardization. And we had a very interesting point was that we saw the topics of data sovereignty, open data strategy, and digital signature. Those are all topics that must be solved by the public and the private sector together. Because if the public sector does it, then the private sector, it's not enough, and the other way around. And what is also important is we saw that we have no real organizational superstructure that is really working towards an ecosystem and bringing together all these participants on the same level. So you see here, we say how to fill, we need to fill the gap. You see the topics, self-sovereign identity, self-sovereign data, connecting microservices, digital signature, and all these topics must be connected via an API or a kind of middleware. And so in this way, we can fill those gaps. So again, you see here the picture of our ecosystem we have published last year. We saw a big potential for the SMEs so that they can provide cross-sector services together for the customers. We also saw several topics, as example for blockchain, that we cannot unlock the potential of blockchain if we have not the necessary connectivity and foundations. For Liechtenstein as country, we saw the big potential also as secure data location, and that our state with such an ecosystem can very, very speedy digitalize the SMEs in our country. So how do we break this down now? It's a very complex topic with a lot of aspects, and I want to show you now how I want to start and do a hands-on approach for reaching a goal. So I'm working on crowd.li. This is also, these are two projects within DigiHub about collective intelligence and crowdfunding. And I said, if I start those two projects, and if I combine those two projects on one platform, I want to take as much as possible preliminary work from the public API project as much as possible for crowd.li. So you see here the whole ecosystem of DigiHub. We have a lot of activities. You see them on the left. So those three activities go now into the platform crowd.li, and later on this can be a kind of building block or blueprint for a larger ecosystem. We took this approach so that we have several streams of development that all the people can go ahead, because it's very difficult if you want to do such a big project and combine everything together, looking at different technologies, then you will reach nowhere. And so we have several technology steps and stacks and tracks where we want to go on, and afterwards looking how to build this together. So how does this look like in a first version? We have decided that we will not start with the crowd intelligence and the crowdfunding function. This will come beginning next year. We first set expert hub. So this is a digital expert platform where the SMEs and experts can have their profiles and services. We have an AI chatbot that matches digital experts to your needs. You can make an appointment with the experts. Having video consulting and payment and invoicing is all done over this platform. And so this is out of the box, a good solution for faster digitalization. The SMEs get immediately more visibility and they have an easier onboarding of the clients, first contacts. And what is also important, we start a first cross-sector database for our AI assistant for the whole country. We work together with the Austrian company Hallo Sophia. If you are interested in setting up something similar, please let me know, then I can connect you to them. The second part is the AI business assistant we will launch also in cooperation with Hallo Sophia. The AI business assistant is a platform for SMEs so that they can access all relevant AI models. It's EU hosted, no model training, no tracking. It's GDPR conform, and the employees in the companies, in the SMEs, have the possibility building apps and share it in their company with other employees. So we have two cool services for starting and foster digitalization. And what is public API now? So the first step for starting with all aspects out of public API is a single sign-on solution that we will launch. And those two services will be connected via the single sign-on solution. So we start with the first topic of identity by this SSO solution, and we are generating a common user base for the ecosystem. So, and then how we do go ahead in the next version. So this will be beginning next year. You saw we have a lot of different aspects. We have our gaps. We have a middleware that should do kind of everything. We want to add services. We have also the topic of the EDIH trust service, the European aspects, the EDI network. We want to digitalize the SMEs. And so we saw that we need different development tracks we can do in parallel. So I want to make some examples. One development track is services. So we will start adding new services to the platform. This can be own services like a company profile or a search and offer function. We will add the service of crowdfunding and using crowd intelligence. So these are two projects. And we are also ready to add services of the EDI network. So if you have applications running, platforms that you want to share with us, you want to join our ecosystem, then we are ready via the basis of our single sign-on solution and first version of a central platform for connecting those services. We have the topic of identity and profiles. This is a very, very big topic. We will add the Liechtenstein electronic identity to our SSO solution and the European identity. And we will start a first example of a central company register where we will get together data from different registers, and also those data from our central register can be shared via API towards other solutions and services. We have the topic of identity, and we start now doing prototypes out of this basis. So we have this basis of the SSO solution and the digital identities combined. And as example, one prototype we do with an SME now is the whole topic about AI, avatar, deepfake, those fraud topics. So we will have a little prototype showing how we can avoid fraud via a false AI avatar combined to the digital identity of Liechtenstein. So this will be a very nice little project, but I think just this project will have a big impact, and we will show this solution afterwards to the government and also to the EDI network. So starting prototypes about identity and profiles, and together with SMEs. So we don't want to do this all ourselves. They shall implement those solutions, start doing prototypes, and generating for them also new services. There are several other development tracks regarding self-sovereign identity, self-sovereign data, EDIH, all around the public API. I want to do an example for self-sovereign data. We have one prototype project where we connect different SMEs, providers for banking, bookkeeping, taxes, advice, and tax declaration, so also the public sector. So we will connect all them together via a self-sovereign data hub, and so they can, without losing connection, share their data among the process from bank transaction to tax declaration. And this is also a first prototype or MVP we are starting. So you see the expected outcome of the activity. I want to make the topic of a digital ecosystem really tangible, so that because we talk about the ecosystems, but it's hard to explain what it is really. And I think this is a very, very hands-on and bottom-up approach that the SMEs have a really quick benefit, and people start understanding what is the output and the profits of the ecosystem and ecosystem thinking. So some insights and experience from our side. I have added here the definition of the Fraunhofer Institute. The Fraunhofer Institute in Germany has a special institute for digital ecosystem building. That's very interesting. Go to their page, look at it, and you see the definition they have. So you have a central platform that addresses the actual needs of potential customers. You need to have an added value. It must be attractive for both, for all partners and people involved. And then you are really setting up an ecosystem. So, and the central platform is very important in the ecosystem thinking. And we say with the central platform, the most important point is filling the gaps that we have identified via our project public API. So some ideas to our process. I want to remind you, we started with an open innovation process. So we have made qualitative interviews with the SMEs and the public sector. And this was a big benefit for getting a very broad picture of what is going on, where do we have the limits, and where are the possibilities as Innovation Hub to go ahead and bring down real projects to the people. We have a very hands-on approach. So we say we need to go very quickly into prototypes with SMEs. The prototypes and MVPs with the SMEs should provide or gaining new business models and services for themselves, so that they are motivated to work with us. So this is one part of our approach. You see again the public API in between all these aspects we took together and try to solve. I want to remind you for our smart approach. So this is very a smart approach. We just combine digital services via a SSO solution and building a kind of network via a central platform. We have those different development tracks with the EDIs that are starting and getting together. And so also the topic of the public API and the middleware can be done in a step-by-step approach and not doing a really big project that will not reach any goal. So we make step-by-step the connectivity that is needed for combining and adding services and making more values. So to principles and organization, I want to say something. We saw out of this project that it's a big need that we will establish one time a structured public-private partnership about this topic. We saw also that this kind of middleware API as public-private partnership is a service provider towards SMEs and the public sector. It must be open for everyone that complies to the standards. So it should not be a closed system, and not every SME or state can join it. So it must be allowed for everyone. We also saw that the core functions of this API and middleware should not provide any services as far as possible that could be provided by the private sector. So we are just looking at the connectivity for all and everything, and the rest should be done by the market. So focusing on the core function, and what is a big topic will be aligning with the standards we have already in the European Union and adapt those standards for the SMEs here in Liechtenstein so that we can use it. We have a very interesting vehicle here in Liechtenstein, and this is called the Liechtenstein Venture Cooperative. The Liechtenstein Venture Cooperative is a special purpose vehicle for developing ideas and business models. So we have here already set up an organizational framework, so where we can define on a company structure, roles and innovation rooms. We can get the funding. We can start a structured cooperation with the public and the private sector. And it's also important we contribute this idea now to this LVC, to this cooperative for a common development and also for protection of the idea and holding up the big vision that we have. Out of this organizational structure, we can do the MVPs, and afterwards there can be a spin-off to the public-private partnership as mentioned. We can elaborate the organizational superstructure, try it out, how should it be, and organized in the future, and realize our big goal of public API. Also a very important topic, we saw the focus must be on developing quickly new business models for the SME. And the most important point at the moment for us is showing the ecosystem, making the ecosystem approach tangible and checking the market acceptance. So we need some prototypes with SMEs, and if the market says, "Oh yes, these are really cool projects. Oh yes, we need this connectivity via a public API, via central middleware," then we also have the market acceptance, because we can't go ahead without those new ideas for business models and also checking up the market acceptance first via the first prototypes and MVPs. No one will fund this or really work further together on the really complicated topics. So you see, this is our hands-on approach. You have here a slide. We saw that what are the necessary foundations we need from the public sector. So I'm talking about Liechtenstein. We need an open data strategy. We need the identification service and digital identity. This functionality must be extended. We have more needs for the SMEs and for our applications. We want to have a very broad API for sharing data. So this should be a very important point. Then it needs to have a strategy also, how open this must be, and the SMEs must bring in their aspects. And we also saw it's very important, so this participating structure, public and private sector, building together an ecosystem. And I think this that we discovered here in Liechtenstein, I think we will have the same questions and topics in every European country, and we have these topics all also cross-border, well, because we have a lot of interesting solutions and approaches in the European Union, but we will start to think about the connectivity of all these digital solutions we are working on. So I hope you got a feeling about our project, about our approach, and how we want to go ahead with this, say, really bottom up and easy approach for making this tangible and working very pragmatically. We have identified very big differences and benefits for the public API. How we are working. So we are not Google. We are not establishing an ecosystem as Google does. And it's also a bit another approach than Estonia's digital ecosystem. The glue of everything is really the connectivity of different services and aspects, public and private sector. This is really the core of everything. And we have to think about also establish this across Europe and making this connectivity. Our project shall be also a blueprint afterwards, so an out-of-the-box environment, so that other EDIs can also start using it, other regions or countries. So this is very important for us. We want to have an independent system. So this core system must be possible to be run independent without any big company players. So we need to have the right open source solutions for this and the right people for developing it. So for collaboration, I wanted to emphasize at the end, if you have services developed in your EDIs, if you have online portals or something you want to add to our ecosystem so that we can provide it with your help to the SMEs in Liechtenstein, please let me know, get in contact to me. If you are interested about Exchange, how we have done our innovation process as DigiHub and with the public sector in total, I like to share my ideas and thinking about it. If you are interested, I showed you the expert portal at the beginning and the AI assistant. If you think this could be a nice solution that you want to provide to your SMEs and your customers, please let me know, then I can connect you to the people. And I want to emphasize also a very important project that I am working on. This project came out of the needs analysis also we had at the beginning of digihub.li. I work on the so-called impact cooperative. So this, I have mentioned the Liechtenstein Venture Cooperative before, and the impact cooperative will be a new kind of company form for business impact models. And we have done there a lot for setting up a real cool organizational company framework. And with this company framework, it will be also possible for setting up DAOs out here from Liechtenstein and doing the relevant tokenization. And we have also made a draft of such a cooperative if you want to organize a whole ecosystem over the cooperative, you want to have everything legally binding and clear structured, then we have the first draft done and want to start. We will use this first draft also then for the public API LDC. So thank you very much. We have so far no questions or any recommendations and so on in the chat. So I think I will stop the recording now. And if you want to join for a participant discussion, then you can stay and we can have a talk in person, what is interesting or for exchanging ideas. So thank you very much for listening. I stop the recording now for the participant discussion. Thank you.